All right. Let me know if we're okay here, Kevin. I think we are.
We
Are
are
you?
recording.
There we go. Okay. Hi, everybody. Let's get started here. All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the KubeStellar community meeting. This is the meeting for May 14th, 2026. We are here at online and recording. We have a Google group at kubestellar.io/join us. You can use join_us. When you go there, you click on the button that says join this group, and you get the invite to this meeting as a regular recurring meeting, and you also get access to this document and many others. The meeting is held bi-weekly, so that's every 2 weeks, and we hold it at this specific time. So mark your calendars if you're not getting the automatic invite. You can see previous meetings and today's meeting at kubestellar.io/TV. And you can see this agenda at kubestellar.io/agenda. If you have any items that you'd like to add to the topics list, please do so below in the meeting entitled 5/14/2026. We are proud members of the CNCF Sandbox project, and as such, we abide by a contributor code of conduct, and I usually read it. I'll do the same here. As contributors and maintainers in the CNCF community and in the interest of fostering an open and welcoming community, we pledge to respect all people who contribute through reporting issues, posting feature requests, updating documentation, submitting pull requests or patches, and other activities. We are committed to making participation in the CNCF community a harassment-free experience for everyone, regardless of level of experience, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, and disability, personal appearance, body size, ethnicity, race, age, religion, or nationality. And so, what I like to summarize that as is everybody, it's a good idea just to be nice to each other. We could use more of it in this world. All right. Today's agenda, we have an attendee list as always. Please go ahead and opine your name and an affiliation if you have one. That'd be great to see. Our agenda today starts off just with some basic housekeeping. If you're looking to join us on Slack, this is how you do it. You go to the Cloud Natives Inviter, and you get an invitation, and then you join our channel. And that channel, of course, everybody can read C097094RZ3M. It's so easy to remember. So that's why I put the link there. All right. We finished up KubeCon EU. This is going to fall off the list this week, but we were there showing more about how to use KubeFlex in a multi-tenancy capacity. That was recorded and should be available soon. I did look for it recently and did not find it online. We were in the project pavilion and we gave a lightning talk on the console. I submitted 2 talks for KubeCon in North America, which will be held in Utah sometime in November. Hopefully we get accepted. If not, though, I will still be at the Project Pavilion and the Lightning Talks, giving you an update on what we've been working on. In IFOS, we have two. The current term will end May 30th, which is in 2 weeks. We had 2 mentors, 2 programs, and 8 people total working with us. We had about 6 unpaid folks that look like they're going to finish the program successfully. The next opening we have is for the next term. I believe it starts in sometime in June. We're in the selection process or the application process now, and soon we'll be in the selection process. People are applying to the program. We have 3 programs that are coming up, and one is on documentation self-service, and the other's on integration. And I believe these are old, so these are from last term. They need to be updated. So we have 3 new ones. Both of them are going to be focused. One is focused on the back-end automation. Oh, there it is. Let's get rid of this. There we go. All right. This is, let's see, application phase is now open. All right. So the app for the next term, we have 3 programs coming. One is on the back end, how to test and do test design for coverage tests. We'd like to do this with live data this time. We have 91% coverage, which covers the majority of demo data as it's used in the console. We'd like to do this with live data, and this would be with long-running systems, long-running long-running clusters that run in our CI somewhere. We have a number of ways that we can do this. I think there are some simple solutions, but we'll have people joining us to help us further that. We also want to work on the front end, and this is more to do with how to do what we're calling, well, visual regression is one, but also visual advancement. And that's the harder one to do. And so this would detect when new visuals are being used in the project or have been added via PR, and would then know enough not to mark it as regression, and then potentially look at it as possible advancement. And so there are no tools today that I know of in the visual regression space that can do such a thing. And so it may be a combination of tools that exist today with some added logic, or it may be something altogether different. We'll have to find out. So let's see. And we'll also be focusing a lot on mission control and AI missions, making sure that orbits and installers and fixes and missions and mission control all work properly and give people the proper experience. So anybody who's out there who's looking to apply, we have an exciting semester up ahead. We will have, as always, we have Cornell that works with us throughout the years, but Georgia Tech will be joining us with at least 2 students starting, I believe, on the 18th, so in 4 days. So next week, the Georgia Tech folks will come on and we'll be fishing around to see what area they'd like to work in the most. And then we'll be pairing them up with the folks that are coming in from the CNCF. And hopefully by the end of the semester, we'll have some kind of solution that helps us not only visual regression, but also testing live data against the console and hardening it for generations to come. We'll see. All right. We have one more open for an external maintainer for the console project, but I'm not in a rush to fill that, or nobody's in a rush to fill that just yet. But there is an opening, so if anybody's out there and looking for a project to co-maintain, and they're from an external place other than IBM, we'd love to have you join us. So if you express interest, DM me, LinkedIn, grab me there at Club Anderson, and that's about it. All right. So that about any questions, comments, or otherwise for anything having to do with IFOS or KubeCon? Okay, we'll move on to the second half of the agenda, go through some projects. Mike, you're up next, talking about the new release.
32 ton. So there's a new release there. A bunch of stuff accumulated, a bunch of fixes accumulated, and I kind of held up progress on them because the upgrade had such a large cross section. I didn't want to get a lot of merge conflicts. So now we can get back to other bug fixes and stuff, and improving, for example, security posture. I also suspect that this was a relatively difficult upgrade because changes were made in other things that are now done. And so further upgrades, Kubernetes upgrades, I expect should be easier. 1.32 is now getting long in the tooth, and so we shouldn't stop there. So that's that.
All right, thanks, Mike, for the update. Anybody want any questions or concerns for Mike? All right. Kevin, you got the next 2 items, so I don't know which way you want to address these, whichever way you'd like to work.
Let's do the fun one first.
Go for it.
All right. If I can share.
I've stopped. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's see if it'll cooperate.
Okay.
So before I show you the dashboard, a little context. Another one of my roles is I'm what's called an IBM Quantum Ambassador. And this means I explain quantum computing to pretty much anyone, from a general audience to more technical. And some years ago, I developed this demonstration that would run on a Raspberry Pi that could be held up in front of a crowd at the Consumer Electronics Show. Since then, I've actually now containerized that project so it can be run on a cluster without a Raspberry Pi. And there we go. So that packaged demo is called Quantum KC Demo because it was designed to work with KubeStellar console. Now it will run without it in a container. And if you do that, you get a control panel that looks something like this, which lets you pick what kind of job you're doing, whether you're sending it to IBM Quantum for real or running it on a simulator. There are a number of different programs you can do, but I wanted something that actually integrated tightly with console. So this is what the Quantum Demo console or dashboard for console looks like. The left card here is where you control what's going on inside the demo. If you have an actual IBM Quantum account, you can put in the credentials, and then you can actually generate a real noise simulator or send the job to IBM Quantum. This middle one here is displaying the output of the code on the fly every time it runs, and this right-hand one is the histogram of the results. What's displaying here is the first peak in that histogram, whatever qubit pattern it was. And then it also gives you status of the job and does a rendering of the quantum program that is being run. Now, this is part of the production version of KubeStellar console. So in order to run it, you do need to run a container with the demo in it, but there are instructions. If you don't have it loaded and you go to this page, it will tell you where to get the code and how to launch the deployment. And it is one container that runs in your cluster. You're running on, depending on the kind of cluster, you have to configure the ports, the services properly so that these cards can find the endpoints. But it's pretty robust. Every so often, a security change causes problems, but I've been staying on that. So it's a lot of fun. It's pulled together two parts of my job in a way that I didn't think was possible, and I'm really happy with it because it actually lets you do a lot of things. If you write custom code, you can actually upload that into this and run it in your demo. So
That's really cool. This serves a couple different purposes, right? People can learn how to use quantum, and they can do it while they get extra time because the console helps them save time in trying to manage their clusters. So I look at this like as a crossover between, the way that you've positioned it, and the way I know the Qiskit to work was more of a gamification of how to use quantum, right? To have that visualization of how qubits turn on and off and how you can combine them to make circuits. I think it's really cool to have that in there because, one of the biggest draws we have is a dashboard with all the games on it that is in console. So this is a cool crossover between something that's really serious and useful and the gaming concept that's in console. So I love it.
yes. Yeah, so one of the things that's important to me is while it's not necessary to run this package, because it is an image that can be deployed, if you look at the source code for the demo, it shows you all the steps to actually authenticate and send a job to the real quantum computers, which, believe it or not, is the hardest step for lots of people when they first start using the Qiskit libraries. If you want to send to the real jobs from a program, how do you authenticate? How do you bundle up the job? How do you send it? And so this package demo
Yeah, I saw that front and
shows you.
center in the top left. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you want to see how it's done, you can look at the source code and it's laid out there, the steps that are necessary in order to do it.
That's
So
cool.
I'm very proud of that. The other item on the agenda, I'm not going to throw
Oh wait,
a page.
before you go further, I wanted to ask you a question or two. So with console, one of the things that I often found with adding dashboards and cards is that adding them, they don't always show up in the console studio. So did you double check that your cards and your dashboard show up there?
Claude and I pounded on that for 2 weeks because it kept
Yeah.
disappearing.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Good.
so, but
I'm glad I wasn't the only one seeing that. I wish I knew a way to make that easier. It's one of the areas in the source that I don't really appreciate much because it makes it difficult for people to add new dashboards or cards. You can add them, but you'll never see them in the studio, and that's yeah, it's been difficult. I'd love to make that easier.
So at one point, there was a commit which modularized the dashboards and card registry, and then it was backed out again. And that actually, so the quantum cards are actually packaged in a module. So it still does that, but that actually was a smart approach because it gives you a clear set of steps to add a card set, which is what's key to a dashboard. So we should perhaps that was a good reason to do that, and it would interact better with them.
Go ahead. Yeah,
that would also interact better with marketplace items because then it's everything is modular. So
yeah, I mean, I littered the code with comments. Actually, I forced it to litter code with comments that said, "Look here, must add dashboard reference here, must add card reference here," right? And still, it it's one of those things where it sees everything and knows nothing sometimes.
Yeah, it was very odd. Over the course of 24 hours, this modular system was put in place. My agents reordered my dashboard to use it. And then when we pushed the PR, it was like, oh, the registry's gone monolithic again. And we hadn't done it. It had happened behind the cover, under the covers again. So,
that can happen too, because I've seen people like try to slam the repo with code, when they do, what's the word? When they do like, they just look at the code, right, and they stick an agent on it and try to point out bugs or this, that, and the other thing. That's not useful to us. So I'm curious, when do you remember about when? What is it, a month ago that happened, or is it more recent?
No, it was more like 2 weeks because it was the week that I rolled this into the production, and I had to do it twice because the card registry changed twice that week. So one key component to anyone using an agent is before starting, compare your local console code to main at that moment because it's changing so fast. And so rebases get forced through to revert things that we don't want. The agents are perfectly happy to do rebases, and sometimes we don't want that. So,
yeah, I'd be curious if you'd be interested in like going back down that route to make that easier for everybody. If you'd be open to the possibility of working another issue into the fray, and then we can see if something actually does happen to revert it. We could do a log on it and figure out why it's rejecting it later on.
Well, I've been using their Claude CLI, so I have memory files on that whole week, so I can have Claude look them up and write a summary, and then we can create a mission from that.
I see.
But if I understand correctly, your concern is not in your memory files. Your concern is, why was this feature of organizing backed out, which was done by somebody else? So the why of that would not be in your memories.
It's something else. It's probably it could be the architect that had recognized it as an anti-pattern, right? It could be this security check found something it didn't like and reversed it. I don't know if it was a full reversal of the PR. So what I'd like to, this is a sensitive area that I think needs some work. And so if you're open to it, definitely open another issue. Let's watch it, and then let's wait for it to if it does ever revert again, then we can fix whatever it is, neuter whatever it is that's done that to make it not do that.
Yeah, but this issue of starting from not realizing that your local repo is already 40 commits behind main when you start working, and that's in the space of hours, not even days. That's something because we have so many agents working from both users and the Hive. It's that should be a first step for anyone who's developing a feature or a fix. Is first make sure your local code is
that's always true. That's always true, but you're emphasizing that it's more important now.
Yes, because the changes are happening so fast.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah. It's, one of the things about the way we're operating now, it's a real lesson in operating a large project, a large code base, and a large number of contributors. And all the trimmings that have to be in place to do such a thing. testing, automation, CI, all the things that have to be in place so that you don't regress and you can make positive advancements. Any open source project that is the size, and and I'll use the term virtual just for this sake, the virtual size of what this project pretends to be is going to suffer from inexperienced yet well-intended contributors that get things into the code base, right? And it doesn't always have to be, we can't single thread this through a single reviewer. That's not, that's not possible either, right? It would gum up the works too much. But the eventual, what I look for is that it becomes an average, that we get to a point where the net promoter score and people are finding value in it and people are able to get their issues fixed in a timely manner. And then we sort out the gnarly bits, right? We go back in and because every project has them. And so it's really just exacerbated, it's really just added gasoline and accelerated that process of discovery and fix and repair and and deal with what comes your way in a way that a larger project with much more people, much more humans might be able to satisfy, but then again might not be. I don't
So
know. It's hard.
I want to add one more comment on good PRs. I mean, I'm using Claude to create my PRs now because it's the only way to keep up. But always, then, once the PR is created, tell Claude to go back and look at the review comments because
this does happen already. We have a post merge. We have a post merge on the CI that looks at for comments from Copilot or any comments from anybody else. It's a post merge CI workflow, and it'll open issues on behalf of Copilot if it feels they should be addressed, and then it launches, puts that back into the system.
No,
But
I
let
mean
me agree with Kevin also that I found as a developer of a PR, I find it useful to ask the agent to look at the existing review comments that have come in on my PR while it's in progress.
Yeah. And so, Mike, the
Yeah,
issue is that Copilot is so backed up that the merge can happen before Copilot registers anything, and waiting for Copilot to do that is a hit or miss. Sometimes Copilot doesn't weigh in. So you merge the PR, and then you look at the previous. There's workflows that go in and look for post-merge comments that come in from Copilot, which is late, and then we'll address them.
Yeah. So a key is I've also learned is when you do your PRs, you do them incrementally because a small change Copilot comes back with much faster review comments, and so you can address them before it merges, which is preferable. Let's do a PR that's right rather than have to do 3 to fix your typo in the first one.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, smaller is better in this case. You're right. Like giving instruction to say minimal changes are preferable, right?
Yeah. So if I can flip on to my next agenda point, I'm not going to pull up a screen here. With so many agents involved, the docs structure has drifted. And so I'm going to open a couple of issues to try and tighten that up. One point I want to make to all of you is that if something you do creates a docs change, all pages in the docs need to be in the navigation. This is something that's come up several times because otherwise we end up with zombie pages. All it takes is an agent deleting a link to an otherwise unlisted page, and it's now floating around there to be found by random searches and maybe getting out of date. So this is not up to debate. Every page must be in the navigation. There have been a couple issues where somebody said this is not, pages only need to be there if they're important. Every page is important if it's on the site. So if it's not important enough, if it's not important enough to have its own link in the contents, it should be a paragraph in a bigger page. That's all I want to say.
So what I'm working on, Kevin, is something in Hive that uses LLM Wiki, which would allow us to share in the community these kinds of instructions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that would influence Hive.
And also, I know we're also starting to develop a knowledge base, and given how fast the console is moving, that would probably be a more robust set of docs if it's being dynamically updated. So, but yes, so docs is drifted. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I am going to open a couple issues so that maybe the agents will stop drifting it so hard.
That sounds good. Yeah, and I'll let you know when wiki stuff is available.
Okay.
I think one of the ways that we can do it right now is you can open a wiki. So basically, it's just a markdown file with instructions, and you can put that in the docs repo. Okay, and put in the thou shalt and the thou shalt not. When you're done with it, I can add it to Hive. I can point to that MD file, and it will use it as instructions when something comes up in the docs. Okay.
I see Mike has his hand up.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, this trips on a point that I've been wanting to raise. Last year, for the sake of other wonderfulness, we moved all our docs out of the repos and into a separate repo. The source of the docs is no longer in the repo that they describe. I think that may be defensible for user-facing documents, but I think it was a terrible mistake for contributor-facing documents. And I'm not sure whether Andy was even thinking about something in the original repo or in the docs repo, but I think we should move back to having the contributor-facing documents in the repo that we're talking about contributing.
Mike, I mean, you know, you're just as much a maintainer as anybody else, and if that's something you would like to do, I think you should, I would suggest highly that you roll up your sleeves and get to work on it. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that here, I don't use the docs for much other than promoting what features are in the projects. I don't get issues about the docs from anybody else. So I mean, if
Let me
it's
just
something that
add, I'll
you desire,
disagree.
you should do it.
Let me disagree. You were just talking about docs, right? But you're thinking of them differently, okay? But these are docs, right? These markdown
No,
files that
Mike.
the agents read.
We're back on docs again. So here's the thing with Mike with docs is I mean quite literally it doesn't phase me at all. If you want to change the docs to go back to the way it was, please do so. All I'm saying is that the agents are actively working on issues that get open in docs, and from what I can control from where I sit, the Hive, I can add instructions that are rules that Kevin would like the agents to abide by. And this is true on any of the console repos or any of the KubeStellar repos that we monitor with Hive, which we monitor 6 of them. So if somebody got on the call and said something's wrong with our brew tap, I could say, okay, well, you could put an LLM wiki, which is an MD file, in that repo with rules that you believe should be followed, and Hive will abide by them. And so
In the brew
my comments
repo.
were amongst any of the 6 repos that Hive acts upon, not just docs.
So let me rephrase it. We're developing content
That
that's
nobody's
about the
reading. Yeah, I
repos.
know.
Besides that content, there's some other content. We're developing content that does matter. You're not thinking of it as docs. It's in your mind, it's not docs, but it's stuff we're developing that is about the development process, that is about the repos, and it is in the repos. It is not in the docs repos. It is back in the original source repos. Okay.
Yes, there are .md files that belong in the repos at the root level that are used for our contributors to see and understand how to maintain our project in an appropriate way.
Right.
That I know of. So what is your
Right.
point?
I think that is telling us that contributor-facing information should be in the repo that it's about.
Have
I
you
don't think
found an instance where it's not?
Yeah, the stuff you don't want to talk about. The docs
No, I
repo
don't want to
has,
talk about pretty pages in the docs. No. You're talking specifically about contributor facing documentation like the MD files that are in the root of each of the repos. Have you found an instance where there's contributor information that's not in the root of the repos where they need to be?
yes. I'm getting a little bit
Example?
confused and we're out of, We're out of time. Let's follow up.
Yeah.
On
I'm willing to keep the call open. We can talk about this infinitum. That's fine. But I just want to know if you have an example of a doc that's not in the root of a repo that we maintain that is contributor facing.
Yes, if you look in the docs site, you'll find a section for contributors. There are docs for contributors.
Okay. And so of those docs that are on the generic doc site, are there any that are specific to a single repo?
Yes.
Do you want to bring it up and share it with us so we can see what you're talking about? We can
Okay, sure.
weigh in on it.
Yeah, let me navigate to it just a moment.
While you're doing that, Cushy, did you have a question? I see a hand raised for Cushy. No? Okay.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, Andy. Hi,
Hi,
Kevin. Hello,
Cushy.
Mike.
Nice to
Hi.
talk to
How
you
you
again.
all?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you? Thank
Good.
you. Yeah. So actually, I was working on AI missions, and I found that I raised one issue. Like, I raised it twice, but the issue is still there. I mean, it was like when I used to click on back to missions or something like to view the history, and I mean to see the saved ones when the chat is going on, it is not going back. I mean the UI is
Okay.
not working actually over there, and I raised the
Good.
issue twice, and
Uh-huh.
the AI did not resolve it properly. So I
Okay.
mean
So
there's a
what you need to do is reopen the same issue. I think I'm not sure if it exists, but I'm gonna go. I need us to test it. Would you mind sharing the issue with? Can you go and open the issue and share it with us right now?
right now, I mean right now I can't actually, but
Okay.
I will
So
share in the Slack.
yes,
I'll
share
share
it in
the
the
video in the
Slack.
Slack.
And
Yeah.
what I want you to try and do in the comment at the last comment, I want you to put
Mm-hmm.
in / reopen. Okay.
Okay. Okay. In that exact issue, right?
In the exact issue. Now, if
Okay.
that doesn't work, well, so my the intent of our prow server is to allow that type of action to take place. And if it doesn't work, I want to know about it so that I can fix it and make sure it does. Okay?
Okay. Okay, Andy. Sure. Sure.
Thanks,
Definitely.
Cushy.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
sometimes the user facing stuff is painful at times. Sometimes it just does not know how to expose the functionality. It thinks it fixed, and that can happen
Yeah.
several times. And this is the reason why we don't want humans creating PRs, because it's frustrating to use any CLI agent pair or model pair
Mm-hmm.
to fix issues in any project, because it'll just burn your tokens. And with our we're part of the CNCF, so we get a stipend of tokens that we can use, and that's what Hive uses. So it can do the same job that you're doing with the same model that you're doing. And if you just simply direct it with / reopen, if it should fail, that gives us a metric to track within KubeStellar's console and make sure that we avoid those situations again. And it also keeps you from having to burn any of your own tokens. Okay? Thanks, Cushy.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.